As the morning light quietly slips through the edges of the world and finds its way into your space, I want this message to reach you gently, like a calm breath before the day begins, reminding you that love does not always arrive loudly or dramatically. Sometimes it arrives softly, patiently, exactly when the heart needs reassurance the most, because mornings are not just about waking up the body, they are about waking up the soul. And I hope that as you read these words, you feel a sense of peace settling within you, the kind of peace that whispers that you are not alone in your journey, that someone, somewhere, holds you in their thoughts with warmth and intention, because love is not only found in presence. It is also found in remembrance, in silent prayers, in the quiet hope that today will be kinder than yesterday, because every day carries its own weight, its own responsibilities, its own unspoken struggles, and yet, every morning also carries the opportunity for renewal, for healing, for starting again with a heart that chooses softness over fear, because love that lasts is not rushed, it is patient. It understands that growth takes time, that healing is not linear, that strength is often born from the moments when you thought you had none left. And as this day begins, I want you to know that whatever heaviness you carried into sleep last night does not define the possibilities of today. Because struggle does not mean failure, it means you are still moving, still trying, still choosing hope even when the path feels unclear, and that alone is a blessing greater than you realize, because love sees effort before results, it honors the unseen battles, the quiet resilience, the way you continue even when no one applauds, because real love is aware of the scars, not intimidated by them, but respectful of the stories they tell, because every scar is proof that you survived something that once tried to break you. And survival is not just strength, it is grace, and grace is what carries love through difficult seasons, because love that understands struggle becomes deeper, more compassionate, more real. And as this morning unfolds, I hope you allow yourself to feel that compassion, not just from others, but from yourself, because self-kindness is often the first step toward peace, and peace is the foundation upon which healthy love is built, because love that grows in chaos becomes fragile, but love that grows in peace becomes steady, and steadiness is what carries relationships through time, through misunderstandings, through distance, through moments of doubt, because doubt is human, but commitment is intentional, and intentional love chooses reassurance over fear, understanding over reaction, patience over pressure. And as the sun continues to rise, I want you to feel blessed not just for the love you receive, but for the love you are becoming capable of giving, because struggle refines the heart, it teaches empathy, it softens judgment, it deepens connection, and one day, you will look back at the mornings that felt heavy and realize they were shaping you into someone capable of holding love gently, responsibly, and with sincerity, because rushed love demands perfection, but soft love allows growth. Because soft love understands that people are not projects to be fixed, but souls to be understood. And as this day starts, may you feel understood even in silence, supported even from afar, and guided by blessings that you may not see yet but are already unfolding in quiet ways, because some blessings arrive disguised as delays. Some arrive disguised as lessons, and some arrive disguised as mornings where nothing feels extraordinary, yet everything is slowly aligning behind the scenes, and I hope today reminds you that love is not absent just because it is quiet, that blessings are not missing just because they are subtle, that progress is not invisible just because it is slow, because slow growth often lasts the longest. And lasting love is built one gentle day at a time. And as the day continues to stretch open in front of you like an unwritten page, I hope you move through it with a softer heart than yesterday, not because life suddenly became easier, but because you have learned how to carry difficulty with more grace. Because strength is not always loud or forceful, sometimes strength is simply choosing to remain gentle in a world that constantly tests your patience, because gentle hearts are often misunderstood as weak, yet they are the ones that endure the longest, because softness is not the absence of power, it is power under control, and love that is soft has a way of healing wounds without reopening them, of offering comfort without demanding explanation, because not every struggle needs to be spoken to be understood, and not every emotion needs to be fixed to be honored, because love that truly cares does not rush you through your feelings, it walks with you through them, step by step, moment by moment. Until the weight becomes lighter simply because it is no longer carried alone, and I hope today you feel that kind of companionship in your spirit, even if the person who holds your heart is not physically beside you, because emotional closeness is not measured by distance, it is measured by intention, by consistency, by the quiet assurance that someone is thinking of you when the world feels busy and distracted. Because love is not proven by constant presence, but by constant care, and care shows up in the smallest ways, in the wish that your day goes smoothly, in the hope that you eat well, rest enough, and remember your worth even when circumstances try to make you forget it, because worth is not defined by productivity, achievements, or external validation, it is inherent, and love that recognizes this does not pressure you to perform, it allows you to simply exist, to breathe, to be human, and as you move through your tasks today, I hope you allow yourself moments of stillness, moments where you pause and remember that life is not a race to be won but an experience to be lived, because rushing through life often disconnects us from love, while presence brings us closer to it, because love exists most fully in the present moment, in the way you listen, the way you speak, the way you respond instead of react, because reactions come from wounds, but responses come from awareness, and awareness is a gift often born from struggle. Because struggle forces reflection, and reflection leads to growth, and growth shapes the kind of love that lasts, because love that has never been tested remains fragile, but love that has endured hardship becomes rooted, unshakable, because roots grow underground where no one sees them, yet they are what keep the tree standing during storms, and in the same way, the unseen efforts you make every day, the emotional labor, the patience, the self-control, the hope you choose despite disappointment, are the roots of the life and love you are building, even if it does not look impressive from the outside yet, because some of the most meaningful transformations happen quietly, slowly, without announcement, and those transformations are blessings in disguise, because they prepare you for connections that require depth, not surface-level attraction, because shallow love cannot hold deep people, but deep love recognizes depth and honors it. And as this morning becomes afternoon, I hope you feel blessed not only by what goes right, but by what teaches you something valuable, because lessons often arrive wrapped in inconvenience, delay, or discomfort, yet they shape wisdom, and wisdom is essential for sustaining healthy relationships, because love without wisdom becomes impulsive, while love guided by wisdom becomes intentional, balanced, and compassionate, because wisdom teaches you when to speak and when to listen, when to hold on and when to let go, when to fight for love and when to protect your peace, because peace is not the absence of love, it is the environment in which love thrives, and I hope today brings you closer to that peace, even if only in small moments, like a calm breath, a kind word, a reassuring thought, because small moments of peace accumulate over time and eventually become a life that feels aligned. And alignment is one of the greatest blessings love can offer, because aligned love does not confuse you, it clarifies you, it does not drain you, it restores you, it does not demand perfection, it values authenticity, and as you continue through this day, may you feel restored rather than depleted, encouraged rather than pressured, seen rather than overlooked, because you deserve a love that meets you where you are, not where you are expected to be, and that love begins not just with another person, but with the way you speak to yourself, the way you treat your own heart, because how you love yourself sets the standard for how others love you, and today is another opportunity to raise that standard gently, without force, without comparison, simply through kindness, patience, and self-respect, and may the blessings meant for you move toward you effortlessly, finding you at the right time, in the right state of heart, prepared to receive them with gratitude and grace. And as the day slowly leans toward its later hours, carrying with it everything you experienced, felt, learned, and survived, I hope this message continues to rest gently in your heart like a quiet reminder that love is not something you chase endlessly, it is something that meets you when your soul is ready, because love that is meant for you does not exhaust you, it understands your pace, it respects your process. It does not rush your healing or question your worth during moments of vulnerability, because real love recognizes that people are shaped by their struggles just as much as by their joys, and it honors both without judgment, because judgment creates distance, but understanding creates closeness, and closeness is built not only through shared happiness but through shared patience. Through the willingness to stay emotionally present even when life feels overwhelming, because presence is one of the greatest gifts love can offer, and presence does not always mean words, sometimes it means silent support, quiet prayers, unspoken hope that tomorrow will feel lighter than today, and I hope you feel surrounded by that kind of support as this day settles into memory. Because every day you live through adds another layer of strength to your heart, even when it does not feel like it in the moment, because growth often feels uncomfortable while it is happening, but later it becomes the reason you can love more deeply, more securely, more honestly, because secure love is not afraid of difficult conversations. It does not avoid accountability, it does not disappear when things become inconvenient, because secure love understands that commitment is built through consistency, not perfection, and consistency is shown in the way you keep showing up for yourself, for your values, and for the connections that truly matter to you, because showing up is not always about doing more, sometimes it is about choosing not to give up, not to harden your heart, not to let disappointment turn into bitterness, because bitterness closes the heart, but hope keeps it open, and an open heart is capable of receiving blessings that a guarded heart might miss, because blessings often arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments. Gentle realizations, or subtle shifts in perspective, and one day you will look back and realize that the days you thought were uneventful were actually preparing you for something meaningful, because preparation does not always feel purposeful while it is happening, but it becomes clear in hindsight, because hindsight reveals how every struggle refined your emotional intelligence, how every delay strengthened your patience, how every disappointment clarified what kind of love you truly deserve. Because clarity is a blessing that only comes after confusion, and confidence is a blessing that only comes after self-doubt, and peace is a blessing that only comes after learning to let go of what no longer serves your growth. Because letting go is not loss, it is alignment, and alignment creates space for love that feels calm instead of chaotic, reassuring instead of draining, supportive instead of demanding, because love that is meant to stay will never require you to abandon yourself to keep it, because the right love does not ask you to shrink, it encourages you to expand, to become more aware, more emotionally mature, more grounded in who you are. Because emotional maturity is what sustains love over time, not intensity alone, because intensity fades, but maturity remains, and maturity allows love to evolve instead of collapse, because evolving love adapts to new seasons, new responsibilities, new versions of the people involved. Because people change, and love that lasts is flexible enough to grow with those changes without losing its core, because the core of love is respect, trust, kindness, and shared intention, and intention is what transforms ordinary days into meaningful ones, because when you live with intention, even routine becomes sacred, even silence becomes comfortable, even distance becomes manageable. Because intention keeps hearts connected even when circumstances try to pull them apart, and as this day comes to a close, I hope you feel a sense of gratitude, not only for what went well, but for what taught you resilience, because resilience is the quiet strength that allows love to endure, because resilient love does not crumble under pressure. It adapts, it learns, it grows stronger through adversity, and that kind of love is a blessing not everyone experiences, because it requires self-awareness.